Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown predictions video. This week we got UFC Vegas 105. It's going to be headlined by Josh Emmett and Lerone Murphy. And that's a great fight. There's pretty good fights throughout the whole card. I'm actually pretty excited for this fight night. And outside of that, we got a really busy week in MMA. We got Invicta, we got PFL coming back. So definitely a lot going on. And if you want access to breakdowns for PFL and Invicta, go to patreon.com/MMA Prediction Guru. The link is going to be in the description, and you'll get access to breakdowns for every fight on those fight cards this week and bets on all promotions. And on top of that, you're going to be helping the channel out. So really appreciate everyone that goes over to Patreon and signs up. And yeah, man, definitely think that there's some winning spots on this card. So hit the like button. And if you want me to do an Invicta video this week, let's try to get 100 likes. So let's try to get 10 comments asking for the Invicta video below. And I'll do the video. So let's try to get that done, man. And, get the video dropped for an Invicta or PFL. Probably PFL. I think PFL is probably the one you guys would rather want. But let me know in the comments, would you want PFL? Would you want Invicta? And let's see if we can get 10 comments and get that video out for you guys. But, yeah, man, let's get in the first fight of the night here for this fight night. And in the first fight of the night, we got Loma Lookboonmee. She's going to be making a return to competition, taking on Istela Nunes here. And she's the only Thai fighter to have fought in the UFC. And currently she's riding a 3-fight win streak, so she's been doing well. She's been in the UFC since 2019. She's 6-2. Her last fight, she won, but she had to get wrist surgery after and hasn't fought in over a year. But she's came over, she started training in Vegas in the U.S., and she's a huge favorite to get the win here. But looking to spoil the party is Istela Nunes. Nunes hasn't fought in an even longer period of time. It's been almost 2 years since she's fought. And the last fight for her was an unfortunate one. She had an elbow dislocation happened in just 34 seconds, and it's been kind of a difficult haul for Nunes since signing with the UFC in general. She failed a drug test and was suspended for 2 years before she even had her first UFC fight, and she didn't get to fight from July 2018 until October of 2021. And she has fought 4 times since the suspension has been lifted, but is 0-4. So I'm a little surprised that the UFC gave her another fight here, but I think that she has people at ATT vouching for her, and she's had some hard matchups, plus her last fight was an injury loss, so they gave her some grace. But I think this one is win or go home for Nunes, and, Nunes is a decent striker. She has fast hands, she'll cut angles, she'll throw 1-2s, check hooks, she'll throw some low kicks. But she kind of has issues maintaining her sharpness for 3 rounds. And she'll start to slow down and drop her hands. Her movement isn't really there anymore. And you could start to land on her. You can mix in takedowns. She's good when she's fresh. She controls distance well. She'll pot shot. But her defense is kind of based on her length and movement only. And the head movement isn't great, and that's why when you close her down, you can land on her. And to me, she doesn't seem like she likes to get hit the most or is the toughest girl in the world. But she has solid takedown defense. She'll show like heavy hips, fast reactions to shots. But when she slows down, you can get her down through the clinch. You could shoot on her, push her to the cage, and take her down. And on her back, she doesn't really offer much. She's gotten finished on the mat in the UFC already. I have seen her working with Pantoja and some other grapplers at ATT, so maybe she could be improved in that area, but that's still to be determined. And Loma, I think her biggest advantage in this fight is going to come in the clinch and her conditioning on top of that, but she's a great striker. She's super fast, really good kicks, straight punches. She has methodical pressure, and I think her ability to stay composed, walk fighters down, kind of maintain the pace is going to be pretty crucial here. And she's the better defense. I think she has way better conditioning. She's, I would say, a little more explosive and mean, which I think all that is going to be the difference. If it's 3-round striking, I could see Loma winning just through those attributes. She could have some issues early on adjusting, just being out a while and fighting someone with a big length advantage, but I think eventually she's going to start to land on Nunes and do damage, and I think the clinch is going to be a big factor. And Lookboonmee has improved her grappling enough, I think, to be fine on top and maybe even be able to finish an exhausted Nunes if she can get on top of her. She did submit Elise Reed, but Nunes has good grappling partners, and maybe he's going to try to surprise Loma, so Loma has to be aware of that. But Nunes has no submission wins. I've never really seen her try to use her grappling offensively, and I think Lookboonmee is slightly better in that area, actually. But she's a little too wide of a favorite, I would say. I feel like betting Nunes would kind of be a force, but yeah, I'm going to say Lookboonmee via decision, but I think that the money line is a little bit overpriced on the Lookboonmee side. And in this next fight, we got two jiu-jitsu girls that are going to go at it with Vanessa Demopoulos and Talita Alencar. And Demopoulos, she had her 2-fight win streak snapped kind of in an unfortunate manner last September, where her opponent kind of cheated to get into a position, and it seemed like Vanessa had a lapse in judgment where she was a little too worried about that, and she got armbarred. And she has been, asking for a fight since that happened, so I think she's going to be in great shape and be hungry to get back in the win column. And she might be 36, but seems like she's not really slowing down. And for Talita Alencar, she had the first loss of her career last August, where she rematched Stephanie Luciano, who she had a draw with on Contender Series about a year prior to their last fight. And the first fight, Alencar was able to get some takedowns. She won the first 2 rounds and then got 10-8'd, and it was a draw because of that. But this fight, couldn't get the takedowns, and Luciano kind of dominated her. And her fight prior to that, she won kind of a controversial split decision. So her last 3 fights, arguably she could have been winless in those fights, but she's gone to fight ready for this camp, and hopefully she has some new wrinkles. But she's 34 years old as well, and this can be like one of the only fights where I think Vanessa's actually going to have a height and reach advantage, which is pretty crazy. So Alencar has, some problems in terms of age and frame for 115, but Vanessa, her striking isn't great, but very durable. She'll throw heavy kicks, big punches, a lot of volume out there. She does load up and leave openings for counters, but in this fight, I think she's going to be a lot better on the feet, and she's going to be a lot busier, a lot more aggressive, and she just has her takedown offense a little stronger here. She throws naked kicks. She'll allow fighters to clinch with her, and her jiu-jitsu is really good, so I think sometimes in certain matchups she's willing to go to her back, but this can't really be one of them. She's won fights off her back, like versus Kanako Murata, but with Alencar, I don't think playing jiu-jitsu out bottom is going to be a smart game plan to go with. And ideally, Demopoulos, you'd think her defensive wrestling is getting better training in Vegas now. And on top of that, when you look at some of the other girls that have taken her down, they've been more wrestlers, where Alencar is more of a jiu-jitsu only type of grappler. But Alencar, on the feet, very stiff. I mean, single strike. She's slow, short reach, like I said, and she'll kind of just hang back, kind of feint fake, try to land a leg kick or a head kick overhand, and mainly just trying to find a single leg entry, though. And when she gets on top, she's really good. She has solid ground and pound. She has one of the tighter jiu-jitsu games in the division. If not, I guess you could argue if she has the best, but especially for MMA. But she's really good on the ground, and if she can get a dominant position, she can get the submission. But her cardio, I don't like it, and I feel like she doesn't really have a ton of experience. And when she starts to lose, she doesn't have a secondary game plan to go to and can kind of wilt out there. But in my opinion, unless Alencar goes out and subs Vanessa in the first round, I just see her getting tired, and I think Vanessa on the feet is going to be landing all the hard shots. On the ground, maybe Alencar could dominate round 1, but I think Demopoulos will be the fresher fighter over 15 minutes. I think she needs to go with the body kicks, and maybe a head kick will come and she can get a big highlight reel with the head kick knockout, but probably going to be a decision with these two girls, and I'm going to say Vanessa Demopoulos wins this decision 29-28 or 30-27. And up next we got Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcao, and this is a good one. I mean, Pedro Falcao, he's 0-1 in the UFC, but he had a really tough assignment. He fought Victor Hugo on 3 days' notice, I believe, and it was a close fight. I mean, it could have gone either way, but Falcao hasn't really been active in recent years, and he's fighting once again after taking a pretty decent amount of time off. But I feel like he's proven to be UFC level. The only loss he's had besides Victor Hugo in his last 14 fights was a loss due to injury. And most of the time when you watch Falcao, he's going to be looking to grappler. He's a decent wrestler, physical, he's strong for the division, he has good cage wrestling, he's aggressive, and he's someone that'll push the pace immediately. I mean, right when the bell sounds, he's trying to back you up, get you along the fence, and good body lock, okay double leg, and once he's on top, though, he's really solid. He has good control, transitions, he has gotten 5 submission wins, 6 knockouts, and most of those finishes with strikes have been on the ground. He's never been submitted himself either, and his striking is secondary. He has power, and he will throw some heavy leg kicks, body kicks, okay jab, 1-2s, overhands, and he'll get in there and mix it up. He'll brawl, and he will use some head movement, kind of ability to take a shot as well, to cut the cage off, close the distance, and then get you against the fence where he really wants to be. He's hittable, but kind of awkward, and you know that he's always trying to get you to the ground, so it makes you a little bit hesitant. And he has good cardio too. I mean, that was a question mark for him in the past, but it seemed as if his fight with Hugo, I mean, he came in on really short notice and fought at a good pace and was able to maintain it. But in order to beat Falcao, I feel like you have to pressure him. You have to either be able to pressure and defend the takedowns or cut angles and kind of stay off the fence. And Falcao's super good at mixing the takedowns after punches, so you just can't be backed up or go backwards in straight lines. But Victor Henry kind of dropped the ball. He had a chance to jump into the top 15, but got guillotined by Charles Jourdain in a fight that it looked like he was kind of starting to pull away in. And 3-2-1 in 6 UFC fights now, so kind of been up and down. And 37 years old, it seems like the time is ticking for him if he wants to make any type of run. But he's a good fighter. I mean, on the feet, he maintains the center well, fights long. He'll go to the legs, go to the body. He'll throw a lot of front kicks, round kicks, jabs, long straights. And he will be very high volume. If you stay in the pocket with him, he'll mix it up, and he's very comfortable there. But his power isn't that great. He more just tries to overwhelm you with the amount of strikes he throws. But he's slick. He'll cut angles. He'll roll with shots. He's fast. He's evasive. And good chin, too. I mean, he can get cracked sometimes, but he eats it well. And I feel like his striking style will be effective against Falcao. He just needs to move early, be evasive. And then once Falcao maybe fails on his initial game plan of wrestling heavy, he could start to pressure and be a little more aggressive. But Henry has strong wrestling skills himself. He's good at not allowing fighters to stall him out against the cage and the clinch, which is big here. And he'll mix in little strikes. He's more active in clinch range than Falcao is. His elbows are nice. And I feel like sometimes he can get kind of baited into exchanging on the ground, and I don't think he should do that here. But he's really hard to hold down, and he's a strong scrambler. His last fight was the first time he ever got submitted in his career, so I think that's going to really light a fire under him to not allow that to happen again in this matchup against another grappler and be hungry to get the victory. and he has top-notch conditioning. He's super experienced. I expect Henry to get the win here. I think it's going to be competitive, but I don't see him letting Falcao just walk him down. I think he's going to be able to use angles, long striking, a lot of kicks, and if Falcao gets him down, I think Henry's going to be able to pop back up, and I expect him to be throwing more strikes in the clinch and wrestling exchanges along the cage, and I think it's going to be a decision, and I'm going to say Henry gets the win unanimously. And the next fight we got on the card here is in the welterweight division, and it's Rhys McKee, who's 0-4 in the UFC, so I mean, I think any loss would signify his last fight in the promotion, and he's been given these chances because he's very entertaining, he's extremely durable, and he's been given tough assignment after tough assignment, but he's proven on the regional scene in Cage Warriors that he can dominate, he's been the champion, so the UFC is where he belongs. It's just he has to prove that he actually can win here and get the results, man. And Daniel Frunza, Contender Series fighter, he's making his UFC debut. And last September, he fought, got the knockout win on Contender Series. He looked impressive in general. He has 5 knockout wins in a row. And Rhys McKee is 0-4 in the UFC, but he's a name that people are familiar with. And it's a fight where I think the UFC is looking to test where Frunza is at. And if he wins, I think they're going to give him a big fight next. But you look at the style, I get why they did this matchup. It's going to be really entertaining. Frunza's a really fun striker. He walks fighters down. He chops the legs. Looks to land the big right hand. He has nice accuracy. He's really good at slipping and returning off punches or countering kicks with the right hand. He keeps measured pressure, and he won't really give a ton of counter opportunities, but he's a very dangerous striker. In his one loss, he was having success landing leg kicks. He kind of got overzealous, threw a couple of naked kicks, got dropped, and it led to him getting choked out. But kicks, I think, are kind of the way to go versus Frunza. He can eat body kicks, he can block head kicks with his arms, and fighters have to set them up because he will be looking to counter. But when you throw kicks on him, a lot of them tend to land. And outside of that, just trying to pull Frunza into a takedown or a big punch is potentially what you have to do too. I mean, he got dropped his last fight with a big uppercut by Cutsy, and I think he was kind of expecting the takedowns, and he got caught early, but he tends to get hurt in a lot of fights early on, but he's a really dangerous striker, and once he gets the groove and gets going, he could force exchanges, kind of take away that kicking range and go to work, and McKee's going to be there to hit, so I'm sure Frunza feels like he has the power to finally be the guy that cracks McKee's chin. And Frunza has proven that he can maintain his knockout power for all 3 rounds as well. We've seen him get a knockout with an elbow from hell in the dying seconds of round 3. That fight was an elevation too. So his cardio, at least for striking, is pretty on point. But Frunza's lost both of his pro fights via rear naked choke. The most recent one was more because he got dropped with punches than anything else. But his grappling hasn't really been shown much in fights. He is not going to be an offensive wrestler or look for submissions, but did show good submission defense versus Jalen Fuller, and he's gotten taken down in a couple of his fights recently, but he's good at not allowing much damage to happen, and even though he can get controlled a little bit, when he gets back up, he's right back in your face trying to make up for that. Rhys McKee did spend a lot of time pushing Nzechukwu against the cage in his last fight, so Frunza needs to have an answer for that if Rhys McKee tries to do that here. And Rhys McKee, though, experienced fighter, kind of an all-rounder, super durable, high volume on the feet. He has to, in this fight, control the center and pressure. I think front kicks to the body, round kicks to the body or something he needs to use with the jab. When he shoots his jab, he has to really throw it, not be lazy, because Frunza is going to be trying to come over the top with heavy shots. And I think after you start to have success with the jab, feigning it, and then looking to get Frunza to look to counter and then land knees or shots up the middle. But McKee can't get backed up. He has to not get stagnant against the cage. He could take a shot really well, but you never want to test your chin with someone with the power of Frunza. And even if Frunza doesn't have the power to knock out McKee, I think whoever is going first and forward is most likely going to be winning out of these two. And Rhys McKee, he's lost some fights through being taken down. His wrestling defense is not the greatest. We've even seen him get taken down by guys like Alex Morono, but this fight, I doubt he's going to have to deal with any takedown attempts, and he's actually gotten better at getting back up, and I think if anyone looks to mix it up, it's probably going to be McKee. Maybe he could use the clinch to get to the back and jump on the back, or surprise with the takedown. You saw him versus Nzechukwu get a takedown really late in the fight. I think he could have went to that earlier and had success, and maybe he's going to learn from that. But I kind of lean McKee here just because I think he's going to go to the body. I think he's going to mix in the clinch. I think he's a little more durable. He's durable enough to take the damage, and if he can get the back, I could see him finding the choke. His last fight, he wrestled too late, like I said, and I think he needs to try that a little earlier here. But I think he could take the decision or even hurt his opponent and then club and sub them. But it's hard to be super confident in McKee because he's 0-4 in the UFC. But I feel like he has the experience, and I think he can get the win here. And this next fight, we got the biggest favorite on the card with Dione Barbosa. And her last fight, she jumped in on short notice, fought Miranda Maverick, and she was competitive, but she lost. And her debut, she got a close decision win. So 1-1 in the UFC. Her opponent, Dione Belbita, 7-fight UFC veteran, but 2-5, 2-fight losing streak. And she hasn't fought since last February. The last time that Belbita actually won was June 10th, 2023. So we're coming up on 2 years since she's gotten a victory. And she's retired, has came back, and kind of definitely questions regarding how invested she is in the sport. But she's a huge underdog here, so this is her opportunity to show that she's still on this level. And she's an alright striker. I mean, good build. Her arms are long, so she can utilize a high guard or elbows to cover her body pretty well and plod forward and kind of block punches and then come back with counter hooks. But zero head movement. Fighters can jab and move on her. You could land kicks on her, and she's going to stay tough, block a lot of shots, keep pressing you. And if you slow down, she could start to land. She kind of has a mean streak, but takedown defense isn't the greatest. I mean, anytime a fighter's getting taken down and armbarred by Molly McCann, you know that there's some issues there. But she's had other fights where her takedown defense looked at least a little better. Her conditioning is good, and her opponent, though, Dione Barbosa, good prospect. She's athletic. She has good footwork, and I would say she's better with her hands, and she has some power. She'll use her movement and length to throw straight punches, kind of get in, get out. Good body locks, good top control, really solid submission game. And 3 of her wins are first-round submissions. I feel like that's the way to go here. The striking could be close. I don't really think Barbosa has the greatest chin, but she has such a huge edge if she can get it to the ground, and I think she's going to be faster, cleaner on the feet. She's going to be able to move around, time the takedown, and unless she gasses going for submissions early or just doesn't grapple, has a bad fight IQ, or gets caught, I think she's going to win. And I actually think she's going to get the finish, so I'll say first round submission win for Barbosa here. And this next fight on the card is definitely the favorite for fight of the night. Davey Graney's quietly won 3 of his last 4 fights. He looked great handing Ramon Tavares his first UFC loss last December. He's 39, but really is looking better than ever. And every time he fights, it's guaranteed violence, and even more so this time versus Daniel Santos. Santos, shoot box fighter. He brings the same come forward style that everyone out of that camp usually brings. He hasn't fought in a while due to injury, but 2-fight win streak for him and 2-1 in the UFC. Santos, style-wise, come forward brawler. He's athletic. He can close the distance with big power, good speed. He cuts the cage off well. He wants to back you towards the fence and then let go with heat. He'll mix in nice leg kicks, front kicks to the body. I think leg kicks in this fight need to be a big part of the game plan. He has nice knees. He hasn't really shown it in the UFC, but he's gotten several spinning back kick finishes. Defensively, he tends to kind of dip to evade punches, and he's been hit with head kicks due to that. And he also can get caught with straight punches, with jabs. But he's very durable. he's able to eat damage and keep coming forward. And if you slow down with the footwork or with your offense, he's going to start to beat you up. And he has decent wrestling. He's worked on it. He's got a couple takedowns in the UFC, but tends to just use his wrestling to mix it up. And he isn't really someone that wants to hold down guys or hunt submissions. I feel like he looks for damage. He can be taken down, but he's pretty difficult to hold down. I feel like in this fight, Davey Grant mixing in the takedowns and just kind of being smart in that way would be good for him. But, yeah, Davey Grant, style-wise, he has a style that I think on the feet is going to be hard for Santos. He's going to be moving left and right, switching stances. He throws power from odd angles. Grant is going to be mixing a lot of kicks to all parts of the body, head kicks as well, switch stance attacks. I feel like he has an insane amount of volume. He's super durable as well and a big, heavy hitter. So he's dangerous on the feet. And I think he needs to mix in takedowns, like I said, if he can. I think he has an advantage in the grappling. He needs to kind of prioritize the jab, throwing a lot of kicks, and then avoid getting backed up to the fence, continue to circle, rip hard hooks, and then when Santos gets over-aggressive, maybe you could try to take him down and backpack him for a round or something like that, or control him. But conditioning-wise, I think both these guys have really good cardio. And I'm going to take the underdog here. I think he's going to throw more volume and be slightly more durable, and that's Davey Grant. I could see both guys being dropped here and it being a really close decision, like a lot of Grant fights. I think it's going to be crazy, but I think the volume, the kicks, having a few more moments is going to take it for Grant. Grant's been more active. Santos coming back off a pretty long layoff. I think he, has a hard fight with your first fight off of a long amount of time off, and I'm going to lean towards the guy in Davey Grant just being able to dog this one out, and I'll say it goes to decision. Both guys could finish, but they're really durable, and I actually kind of think it'll go over, and I'm going to say Grant wins over 15 minutes. And in this next fight, we got a flyweight fight, kind of an old school versus new school kind of feel here with Luis Gurule making his UFC debut. He's taking on a 10-fight UFC vet in Osbourne. And Gurule is coming in here with good credentials. He's undefeated, 12 wins in a row. Big-time win over Daniel Cormier protege Nick Piccinini on Contender Series. And he's entering with some hype here, but trying to steal that hype is the Jamaican sensation Osbourne. Osbourne, he's been turned into kind of an opponent by the UFC lately. He fought Luis Rodriguez in the Spears last fight. He's fought Osman Mabayev, and 33 years old. He's had some good fights, has some nice finishes. He had won 3 fights out of 4 in the UFC after his win over Charles Johnson a couple years ago, but since then he's lost 3 in a row, and he's still competitive, but he needs a win here to keep his job, and he's taking on a guy that's a tank in Luis Gurule. Luis Gurule is someone that has constant forward pressure, good defense. He'll stay kind of cool, calm, collected, doesn't really load up, and he's good at staying patient, backing fighters towards the cage, good footwork, good head movement. He can slide out of the way or slip punches, and when he backs you up, he'll throw big hook combinations. He will kind of loop punches, and he lunges in sometimes, which Osbourne definitely has an opportunity to take advantage of with counter strikes down the middle. And Gurley will throw heavy kicks, though, leg kicks, front kicks to the body. In the dirty boxing range, that's where he's at his best. He's really active there. Short range power, nice short punches, super durable. And he's been dropped, but he recovers quickly. He's a tough guy. I feel like he's had some fights where he didn't look the greatest, but he's a dog, and he doesn't wrestle offensively much, but he uses his striking to force out bad takedowns, and then he'll reverse those, get on top. Big ground and pounds, kind of a ball of muscle. He's really hard to hold down, which we saw in his last fight. He was just grabbing and doing whatever he could to get back up to his feet. And he's shown pretty good submission defense. If I'm Gurule, I might try to mix it up here and get some takedowns, or at least wrestle and see if you can get O'Day tired. Because Gurule has excellent conditioning and he weaponizes his cardio, trains at elevation. And for Osbourne, been in the UFC for years at this point, but kind of is only made marginal improvements. He's pretty much the same fighter. He wants to keep you at a distance, pull you in his power. He's really fast. He's a southpaw, good footwork, 1-2s, 3-2s. He'll throw some leg kicks, front kicks up the middle. He'll try to avoid brawling, stay in and out. In the pocket, he gets wild. He's a little vulnerable there. And he has some issues with conditioning and durability. And if you see him starting to attempt to wrestle, it usually means he's losing. To alleviate pressure, Osbourne will shoot, but he isn't really an effective wrestler. And in this fight especially, I think if he starts shooting on Gurule, it's the beginning of the end for him. But he needs to try to keep it at a distance, maintain his energy, pot shot Gurule, and Gurule's going to continue to pressure, so Osbourne can't expect a knockout, just be free-flowing. And when he loses, it's normally through getting put on his back. He has a good choke game, and he's gotten better with his offensive wrestling, but if you take him down, you could pass his guard or nullify his guard. He really doesn't offer much outside of that. We saw his last fight, he got really close to a triangle after hurting Rodriguez in the first round, and after that, he kind of got dominated in the grappling, but he has a chance here if he can connect and finish with a big left hand, maybe even get a club and sub, but if he can, I think that he's going to gas, and Gurule has a shot to finish him later on. I think Gurule is going to be attacking the legs, the body. He's going to be making Osbourne move backwards. And unless Osbourne catches him early, I feel Gurule is going to break him. It's kind of a similar fight, in my opinion, to him versus Vergara, but I think that Gurule is just a little better than Vergara, more powerful, explosive. And I'm going to say Gurule finishes in late round 2. I think he can get the fight to the ground, maybe drop him or get a takedown through the clinch or something and ground and pound him out. So I'm going with Luis Gurule's second round knockout. And in the first fight on the main card, we got kind of a freak show fight between Torrez, Finney, and Robert Valentin. The UFC saga of Torrez Finney is finally set to start after 15 wins in a row. He is going to feel at home fighting for the 4th time in the Apex. Everyone that's followed him knows he's 3-0 in the Contender Series, and this is his first assignment after finally impressing Dana White enough to sign him and taking on the Ultimate Fighter finalist Robert Valentin. And Valentin was one of the more memorable cast members on the Ultimate Fighter Season 32. He got 2 quick stoppages in the first round, and he was kind of the resident Diego Sanchez of the season, but Valentin, he was the slight favorite to win the finale, but he got his arm hurt in round 1 by Ryan Loder and then finished in the second round. That loss snapped a 7-fight unbeaten streak for him and kind of puts pressure on him to prove that he's UFC level in this fight. And Valentin, he's going to need to prove he can defend takedowns in this one. In his contest with Ryan Loder, that was the reason why he lost. He ultimately got ground and pounded in the second round. If he can't get his creative grappling going or keep this fight standing, he's going to get smushed in this matchup versus Finney. And he needs to stay moving on the mat if he's on his back. He needs to attack submissions, try to use them to stand up or sweep. And he's training in Thailand for this fight, so his striking, his wrestling should be sharp. He's working with the Hickman brothers. And he's awkward. He kind of has dangerous stand-up, long reach, crazy frame. You'll throw from odd angles. When he pressures you, he's dangerous. But when you pressure him, he likes to plan and try to land check hooks. And you can kind of counter him. You could take him down. But he has nice kicks. He got a really nasty elbow knockout on Ultimate Fighter. But hittable. He doesn't really have technical stand-up. He's more just a guy that creates chaos. And he's strong, long, and lanky. He doesn't really have great wrestling, but he can create scrambles. He'll jump submissions in exchanges. And like I said, if you can kind of smush him and take away the space, you could break him down and eventually finish him or decision him. Kind of seems way too comfortable in full guard. But he's confident that he can eventually create a scramble and find that submission. And when he's on top, he's really effective. He's gotten 5 rear naked choke wins. But Ryan Loder is a good grappler on top of having elite wrestling skills. Kind of just showed you can ride Valentin out, float with him when he tries to create scrambles and break him down. Loder was able to get him in the kind of like a crucifix position in round 2 where he finished him. And in round 1, he got him in an armbar where it seemed like he hurt Valentin's arm, and it made it easy for him to get that finish in the second. But cardio for Valentin's kind of questionable as well because he usually goes out there and gets finishes. He hasn't been extended in a lot of fights, but he's dangerous. He's fun to watch. And Torrez Finney, short, compact powerhouse type of guy. He has extremely explosive level changes, super strong. He can lift you, get big slams, short arms, really no neck, so he's hard to submit. And he hasn't really fought anyone on Valentin's level in terms of grappling off their back. Yuri Panfarov is kind of the only similar fighter. And Finney, did get threatened with the Kimura in that one, but, he was just too much of a bull. He eventually broke and finished Panfarov, and he's going to have to do that in this one as well. Stuff the submissions. Don't be afraid to take Valentin down and be more offensive with your overhands on the feet. And when you get on top, be weary of the danger that you have, but be aggressive and let your strikes off. And it's a weird fight because it's two fighters who pose threats to each other. I mean, with Finney, he has an opponent who he has to be careful, close the distance, not run into anything, but I think he should be able to take Valentin down pretty easily. And when he gets to the ground, it's going to come down to if Finney can control and smash Valentin, or if Valentin can use jiu-jitsu to sweep and put Finney in positions that he's not really that aware of yet. He doesn't have a ton of experience, but neither guy has faced a murderer's row, to be fair. But I mean, I just favor Finney slightly. I think he has more fight IQ. He's a more form game in terms of what he wants to do when he gets in there. And I see him getting takedowns, and his gas take to me is better. So I don't know if he's going to stop Valentin or win a decision, but I'm going to go with Torrez Finney. And up next here, we got two 37-year-olds that are going to battle. Both fighters, they need to win in a big way. Brad Tavares lost 4 of his last 5, and he's been competitive, but just unable to get it done on the night. And Gerald Meerschaert, 2-3 in his last 5. He's coming off a submission loss last November. Both these guys have over 20 UFC fights. They're legends in their own way. And at this point, they're just looking to extend their careers and get another win on Saturday. But I don't really have a ton of interest in this fight from a betting angle. GM3 at dog odds is always appealing, but it's a good matchup on paper for Tavares, in my opinion. I think at distance, he should have an advantage. He should be able to chop the legs, land 1-2s. I think he's faster. He's going to force GM3 to go first so he can land counters, you'd imagine. And he has really good takedown defense. He's always been difficult to beat with grappling. Never been submitted in his career. GM3's been looking better in recent fights to me than Brad, but he's been fighting lesser opposition. And with Tavares, you normally have to rock him or hurt him multiple times to beat him. And GM3 has underrated power, but I don't know if he's going to be able to land clean enough to get Tavares out. And I expect GM3 to try to pressure, throw a lot of body kicks, throw big punches, mix in the takedowns, implement the game plan that Gregory Rodriguez did. But I just think Tavares will be able to land more, avoid getting hit, defend the takedowns, and win a decision most likely. I mean, GM3 is the king of the comeback, and maybe Tavares is at the point where he could get hurt by GM3 on the feet and submitted or something, but I think this is Tavares' fight to lose, and I'll say he wins a decision. And in the next fight, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu looking to continue his ascent up the heavyweight ladder, making it 3 wins in a row in his first 3 fights in the weight class. And the 13-fight UFC veteran is ran through Chris Barnett and Lucas Bresky, knocked both of them out in the first round, but this is a step up in competition. His opponent, Martin Buday, has quietly racked up a 5-1 UFC record. I wouldn't say he's been the most impressive or put on great performances, but 5-1 in the UFC division is nothing to sneeze at. And a win for either guy here is going to be their entry into the top 15, I think. So someone is going to get a big reward. And Martin Buday is a cardio guy, big for the division, and he walks fighters down. He tries to stay tight with his defense, make fighters miss or block, absorb their shots, and keep coming forward. Doesn't really throw much, but when he gets in close range, you'll look for counter hooks, short punches, and primarily wants to push you against the cage and put his weight on you, try to get you tired, grind on you. And if he gets on top, he's decent, but he doesn't really have the wrestling to get takedowns. And he needs to either get better with his level changes or just getting the fights to the ground through the clinch, or doing damage when he has you against the cage. Because right now he's just more of a controller. And if you could back up Buday and throw at him, he tends to shell up. He kind of just doesn't have the speed to combat that. And we saw Shamil Gassiev easily beat him by walking him down. But Kenny Nzechukwu, super tall, long fighter. He's very fast, and when he gets fighters backed up, he will let his hands go. He'll throw nice straights, nice hooks in combination. At distance, he's good at feigning, keeping the range with front kicks. He has effective pressure. He'll throw head kicks too, and knees, elbows. The issue is he holds his hands low, and he can run into shots sometimes. Fighters that pull him into power can hurt him, but I don't see that being a big potential impediment here. And Kennedy doesn't really look to wrestle, but in this fight, I think he has the advantage in the clinch. He just can't let himself get tired and stalled out there. But I feel like he has the better clinch weapons. He's more offensive there. Good front chokes. Good ground and pound if he can get on top. And I think Kennedy gets the finish here. I'll say in round 2. I think he's going to pressure Buday, stab with the front kicks, maybe eventually land a head kick or work some straight, some hooks. I think he's going to back up Buday, get him to shell up, and just get him out of there. I think Kennedy, I don't know if he's going to knock him out or kind of standing TKO him like we saw Gassiev do, but I got Kenny Nzechukwu winning this fight. And keeping it going through the card, we got Cortavious Romious taking on Chang Lee in this next fight. And Romious, to me, is a little bit in the danger zone here. He's had 3 fights under the UFC banner. He's only been able to come away with 1 victory. And he fought twice in the Contender Series. He fought Ramon Tavares, got knocked out in 29 seconds in October of 2023. Got a comeback opportunity against a little bit of a lesser opponent in Michael Imperato. He was able to get a decision win that got him the UFC contract and debuted pretty quickly after the Contender Series fight and lost a decision to Gaston Bolanos. And now he's facing a 10-1 fighter, someone that's 1-0 in the UFC, and Chang Lee. And Chang Lee's a guy that was a winner on the road to UFC tournament before getting injured and came back June 24th and, he won the tournament June 24th of last year via split decision after an injury. It pushed it back a little bit, and now he's fighting again here. And Lee, he's a southpaw. On the feet, he really just uses his stand-up to close the distance. He has power in his left hand. He's a good head kick, but always looking to just clinch up. And he has good clinch attacks. He was landing a ton of knees, short shots versus Long Zhao, but his game plan is close distance, grab, and it's his only option, really. He's been effective with it, been able to drag fighters into his style of fight. And he's a beast wrestler. His top game looks good. He'll throw brutal elbows, nice short punches. He transitions on top well. His control looks solid. His defensive wrestling has been tested, and he's been taken down in a few fights. But he's shown ability to come back even when he's losing 2-0. He's gotten out of some deep submission attempts, and his cardio is really good. He tries to weaponize the cardio. When he gets on top and gets in a dominant position, he's ground and pounding hard and looking to find the finish. And Cortavious Romious, speedy striker. He throws heat in every shot. He's dangerous, but he does brawl a lot. And he'll come forward, wing big punches. This fight, I feel like maybe that could work because he's not fighting a striker that is that good, but it's a dangerous game to play his striking style. And his takedown defense is solid, but I think if you can kind of be relentless with him, you could force scrambles, you can take him down eventually. Michael Imperato, who I don't view as a great wrestler, got Romious down a couple times, and Romious is willing to stay on his back because he has several armbar wins from full guard. He is dangerous there, and he's confident, but I don't think he should look to wrestle versus Lee or want to be in full guard on bottom or grapple at all in general because Lee's the better grappler. And if he gets top position on Romious, I think he can finish him. And even if Romious is on top, I think Lee is a submission threat. He's probably going to be able to eventually get back up or sweep. And cardio-wise, Romious is at a disadvantage. But he is a good grappler, nice back takes. And I think Romious is a knockout or bust here, though. I just think Lee is more of a dog, and if the fight goes deeper, he's going to break Romious with the wrestling. I think he can get on top and eventually get the finish. So I'm going to go with the second round finish here for Chang Ho Lee. And up next on the docket, we got the co-main event between Joanderson, Brito, and Pat Sabatini. And both these guys have had some awesome performances in the octagon. They've been pegged as dark horses in the past. Brito, he won 5 fights in a row from April 2022 to May 2024. He was going to get a shot to break in the top 15 versus Dan Ige, but got hurt and then later got matched up with William Gomez and took the loss there, so he's going to have to build back up. And that loss dropped him a bit, but a win over Sabatini can get him in a good position. And Pat Sabatini at one point was 4-0 in the UFC. He fought Damon Jackson and got knocked out in less than a minute and 30 seconds and bounced back with the win, but Diego Lopez knocked him out. And then his last fight, he came back from a year layoff, and there were some question marks, and he absolutely smoked Jonathan Pierce. He took him down, beat him up on the ground, choked him out. So he reminded everyone who he is and showed that he's still not quite done yet, but both fighters have clear objectives here. For Pat Sabatini, he has to get the fight to the ground. We've seen him dominate guys like Jonathan Pierce, and Sabatini is a guy that I think could give a lot of problems to Brito if he can get on top. For Brito, he has the front choke he's gotten a couple times, but I think ultimately he's going to have to try to sprawl and brawl, try not to clinch as much, use his physicality to keep it striking and win on the feet. And Brito's a tank. I mean, he's extremely aggressive, gets right in your face, he'll load up on super hard leg kicks, pretty good jab, and if you stand in front of him, he's going to line up the big right hand and really fast. I wish he wouldn't load up as much because he already has crazy power, but when he lets his hands go, he's super dangerous, and I think if he lands clean on Sabatini, he has the power to knock him out with one punch. Sabatini's a little chinny, and Joanderson Brito is really strong. His takedown defense is decent. Great job of not letting himself get stalled out against the cage. He's gotten better at pummeling and getting his back off the fence, and great job landing impactful shots to the body, to the head, in close distance. But if you make him start to wrestle hard, the takedowns do eventually come easier, and you could start to get him down. And shooting on Brito's legs is what seems to be the most effective. He got taken down with a single a couple times versus JSP, and JSP looked like he was breaking him before Brito ended up finding the choke out of nowhere. But I think every takedown Sabatini gets is going to drain the energy bar of Brito, and Brito proved he can remain dangerous, but a guy like Sabatini is going to be... There's going to be less forgiving moments when he gets taken down by Sabatini than there was with JSP. But Pat Sabatini, high-level grappler. If he can get top position on anyone, he could do major damage. He can get the submission. Really good at taking fighters down against the cage with trips, and you'll time opponents' kicks and get him down that way too. He's position over submission, but he's usually finishing fights. I mean, he gets what he wants eventually. He'll break fighters down with good ground and pound. His top pressure is really good. Use that to get guys to quit, give their back, and then really good back control and quite a few rear naked choke wins. His last fight, I don't want to say it was lucky, but less than 10 seconds into the fight, there was a moment where both fighters got off balance and let Pat Sabatini shoot in, get the back, and he ended up getting the rear naked choke from standing. So obviously it was a quick finish. He took no damage, and he got a dominant victory for him, so that was great. And even off his back, he's dangerous. He got rocked bad versus Jamal Emmers. He was able to pull the heel hook out of the hat. So grappling Pat Sabatini, do that at your own peril. And on the feet, he's not great. You could tell he's uncomfortable, kind of stiff, but he'll switch stance. He'll try to pull you into the takedown or big punches. And I've seen him hurt guys with body kicks. He'll go with head kicks too, but I don't really see him being comfortable on the feet here with a powerhouse like Brito. I think he's going to really be trying to get it to the ground, and I'm going to edge towards Brito via knockout here. Pat Sabatini is good at what he does, but when he can't get it going, I think that he's not the best at facing adversity. I don't like his reactions to getting hit. And if Brito hurts Sabatini, I think he's almost certainly going to finish him. Brito has to show good fight IQ here. If he engages in the grappling, tries to jump guillotines or jump the back, he can kind of get sucked in and lose the fight. But I think that Brito's going to be smart, shut down the takedowns, and then find the chin and get Sabatini out of there in the first or second round. So I'm going to go with Joanderson and Brito via finish.
And closing out the show, we have a battle of two top-ranked 145ers. Josh Emmett, he's back after another year-plus injury layoff. He had one of the most brutal knockout wins in UFC history over Bryce Mitchell in his last fight, but he didn't really get to keep the momentum going because of the injury. But if he can come back off this layoff beat an undefeated prospect at 40 years old, that'll be pretty epic. And Josh Emmett in general is a story of perseverance, and it's an amazing what he's been able to do after multiple ACL surgeries, facial fractures, and just all the other brutal injuries that he's had to battle through. But he's a big underdog here. He's facing an undefeated 15-0-1 Lerone Murphy, who's been active, who's been rolling. And Lerone Murphy, he's getting his second UFC main event. It's a chance for him to break into the top 5. 7-0-1 in the UFC. He's coming off of wins over Dione Barbosa and Dan Ige. And a win here sets Murphy up for a potential title eliminator. I think it's just more experience before the inevitable title shot in Lerone Murphy's mind. But obviously, Emmett has something to say about that. But Lerone Murphy is an extremely sharp technical striker. When he can have a pretty fight on the outside, he's a sniper. He'll smash fighters with a jab. He'll throw really nice 1-2s. He'll mix the left hook into the end of his combos. He's just very good at touching and then sliding out of the way of return shots. He'll occasionally mix it up and go to the body. Nice kicks too, nice calf kicks. He likes to attack switch stance head kicks. He'll even mix in spin kicks. And power-wise, he has power, but it's more speed precision from him, and I don't think he has the same kind of power as the Emmets or guys like Dan Ige, who he fought last time. And due to that, he needs to keep the distance, stay at range, fight smart. He will mix in dangerous offense like knees and elbows. He did cut Ige with an elbow really early in the fight, and I feel like that helped him get the win. But he did get caught and dropped in that fight, and he's been hurt in multiple matchups. So his chin is good. He's in great shape. He recovers quickly, but if you get clipped by Josh Emmett, it could be a different story. You could be out face first, but I think a lot of feints, footwork are a necessity here for Murphy. He needs to look to draw the right hand of Emmett out and counter, and he must be patient, try to be fast, the elbows, calf kicks. I think he should try to lower his stance a little in this fight too to try to avoid the overhand. But great athlete. It's helped him a lot with his wrestling. He has good timing, speed when he shoots. He can get takedowns. We saw him surprise Dan Ige, get a takedown on him in their fight. And he normally only wrestles when he's struggling with being pressured hard, though. And his defensive wrestling has gotten better, but it's one of his bigger problems. He's been taken down and controlled in portions of multiple fights. His last fight with Dan Ige was extremely close. He got dropped and lost the round because of that in the first. But he came back, won the second and third. The third was really close as well, though, because he got reverse going for a takedown and held down for a lot of that round. But he was able to get up and steal it in the last kind of minute and a half. And he has great cardio, toughness, volume, and he doesn't slow down. He also has good fight IQ, so I think he is better suited for 5 rounds like this fight. But Josh Emmett is a powerhouse. He isn't going to be able to match the volume of Lerone Murphy, but anyone who's seen Josh Emmett fights knows he doesn't have to match the volume. He just needs one punch to get the job done if he lands flush. And in this fight, he's going to have to be patient. I don't think he has the cardio or want to pressure and throw combinations, be high volume. Emmett, I feel, is going to want to look to move, stay shelled, control the pace with his power threat, and then win the fight by exploding in with power shots or landing big counter hooks, overhands that put Murphy to sleep. I think he should look to go to the body, and I think he should look to try to make the pace of the fight slow for, the first 4 minutes of every round and then explode in the last minute, 30 seconds like he did against Calvin Kattar. And Emmett has wrestling background. He's a ball of muscle, but hasn't really shown the best MMA wrestling or grappling. He has decent takedown defense. I don't really think he's going to have to deal with takedowns in this fight for Murphy, but he has that ability to defend takedowns if Murphy tries to get him to the mat. And Emmett's cardio is on point. He could push the pace, but if this was the Emmett of 3-4 years ago, I would go with Emmett here. But this fight kind of reminds me of the fight between Calvin Kattar and Emmett, but I think that Murphy is a little faster, sharper. Kattar took some huge shots, and Emmett, if he could land on Murphy, I do think could maybe knock him out, but Murphy's going to have a lot more volume. I think the jab, the calf kicks will be pivotal to get on early. He can't fall asleep at any points in rounds, even if he has Emmett hurt, because Emmett is always dangerous and he's super durable, but I feel like it's going to come down to if Emmett can put Murphy to sleep or if he can make it a lower volume fight by moving a lot and then exploding at the end of rounds. But at 40 off a layoff, Murphy, I think, just probably outworks him and beats him over 25 minutes. So my prediction is going to be Lerone Murphy, 49-46 decision. So there you have it, guys. It's a full breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 105. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. As far as my most confident pick on this card, I'm going to go with Dione Barbosa. And for my parlay of the week, I'll go with Loma, Lookboonmee, and Nzechukwu. So thanks for watching, guys. Like I said at the beginning of this video, put a comment down below if you want me to do PFL or Invicta breakdown this week. Let's try to get 10 comments about that. And if I do get that, I will put out a predictions video for you guys later in the week. And go check out Patreon, get access to breakdowns early and breakdowns to those fight cards as well. And on top of that, you're going to get access to bets and just help the channel in general. So go check out the description and click on the link and get signed up. And besides that, man, thanks for watching. I'll be back soon doing another breakdown and predictions video. More than likely, I'm going to be doing another live stream on Friday. So jump in the chat. Let's talk, ask some questions. We're going to have Fitz. We're going to have some other people in there most likely. And, we'll get you some money and be able to answer your questions. So check that out. Come check it out on Friday. And outside of that, guys, I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.